where spoilers, I am Adam, and I am running late for work, because I overslept. But we're going to talk about Master Universe Revelation, tangentially related to why I overslept. So, Master Universe came out yesterday, and I was going to watch, I watched the first episode on my lunch break. Then, the second episode, I was going to watch after work for a doctor's appointment, but I was like, oh shit, I didn't record the Black Friday deals episode of 30-minute reviews yet. And that's an annual thing where it's like, here are some of the best deals in like home media and video games and things like that, because not everyone's going out to buy major appliances. Some people are just going out to buy like TV, like video games and movies, dumb little innocuous shit like that. So I had to do my annual roundup. So I was doing that, and then I forgot my headphones. And then it was, long story short, I didn't get to watch it until around 10:30. And then I finally watched it and wrote a review for the place that employs me, Smithtown Chronicle. And now here we are, the next morning, with what's it called? With the podcast review. So, what do we say about Master Universe Revelation Part 2? I think that Part 1 and Part 2 as it feels like this was not meant to be a two-part thing, because these back 5 episodes are kind of the summation of the show. This is how we're wrapping up the story that we told in Part 1 and all of that. And it feels like it's a COVID issue where production had to slow to a stop due to COVID. And then as a result of that, the first 6 episodes, I think, came out. And then the last 5 came out now, because I had to wait for production to happen on them. That's just how it feels, because there's nothing about, usually if you break a season up into 2 parts or into 2 mods, something like that, it's because you have something in the middle of it that is like a clean breaking point, which this did. To its credit, this show did. There was a clean breaking point with a cliffhanger that was going to get people to watch. But at the same time, I feel like it didn't... these last 5 episodes didn't need to be their own standalone thing. It could have just been Netflix wanted to distribute it this way to get people to talk about it twice. And to drive viewership twice. And that's, an important metric for them. It's how people are watching the stuff they're shelling out a lot of money to make. And but... Again, it feels like Batman The Long Halloween Part 1, Part 2, where it's it could have been one long thing, and people would have bought it. People wouldn't have been like, oh no, that's too much, I can't do that. So, that's a minor gripe, and it's not really a gripe about the show itself, it's about the distribution of the show. And if the only problem we have is the distribution of the show, then, yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a problem. So let's talk about Let's talk about the actual meat and potatoes of the show. So Part 1 was all about the death of King Adam, the ramifications across Eternia as a result of the death of He-Man, and then Teela resurrecting him and bringing him back. And that's a cool concept, because it's you know what it reminded me of? On HBO Max, they were doing, this Distant Lands thing with Adventure Time, which was kind of not shorts, because they're, an hour to an hour and a half long, and it's, stories across, the various worlds of Adventure Time to really build up the world, which Adventure Time didn't necessarily need to build the world up. It did a good enough job of that on its own. But, one of the most recent ones with Finn and Jake was the, was the story of, both of them are now dead at the end of their lives, and they are in, what's it called? And they are in like their version of heaven and all of that. So they have to go back. They have to deal with death again. Death being the like that skeleton man and all of that. So it kind of felt like that a little bit. This part 2, you know, King Adam is resurrected. Skeletor has the power, and it really does open up these broad concepts of like what is the power, who can use the power. It's not just, you know, it's an interesting thing that like I don't know if anyone really ever thought of before this point. Like, well, you know, the power is just the power of, and again, I'm speaking as someone who has never watched the original Masters of the Universe. The extent of my knowledge of He-Man is there is in fact a character named He-Man that exists. I believe Dolph Lundgren played him in a live-action shitty movie, and I don't, like, that's just about it. Like, I know there was a TV show called Masters of the Universe. I know there is, like, I know He-Man from, you know, that one clip from that video where, it's singing along to the Four Non-Blonde song. And I think that, you know, the fact that I can go into this show knowing only that and knowing nothing else is kind of a testament to what the show can achieve. And I think it's a good juxtaposition with, say, Ghostbusters, which just came out this weekend. And I've gotten a lot of comments, we'll call them, in my email about. I'm not going to back down from what I said about Ghostbusters. But, you know, this is a good juxtaposition where this is all about, you know, what it is a continuation of a show that was in the 80s. And it doesn't diminish what happens over the course of the show to raise something else up. And you don't feel like you've wasted your time watching it. It tells the story that it sets out to tell, and it tells that story well. And that's a big kind of, you know, not it shouldn't be an achievement to do, you know, basic narrative storytelling, but apparently it is. What else was that I wanted to address with this? Like, again, the animation is great, the voice cast is all great, and it's an all-star voice cast. That, like, it's good. There are some funny moments. Like, there's a great, like, what's it called? There's a character named Fister. And then it's like Skeletor comes out of the sky, or Skelegod comes out of the sky, and he's like, man, I would love to fist him. And I'm like, that's a good joke. Like, well done. And it's like, the thing is with the, like, everything about it, where it's like, it's not just, I don't know if anyone ever got the power besides He-Man, and the idea of He-Man channeling the power without the sword to kind of absorb and act as a conduit is an interesting idea. I know from reading articles that Savage He-Man is not a new concept. It comes from a Wonder Bread ad, if I remember correctly. But it's like, it's, you know, this is, you know, a deep affection for the source material that, you know, doesn't treat it like it's for children, and the thing is too, it's like it's a very fine line to walk with this. It's a very silly concept, but it does what it does, and it does it well. And really, what more can we expect from that? What else was there with this? Yeah, again, the visuals, the animation are great. It's like, you know, it takes a very, like, when I was watching episode 2, I believe it was, yeah, because episode 1 ends with, Savage He-Man appearing. Episode 2 is, what's it called? Episode 2 is, Savage He-Man versus Skelegod and all of that. And then it's like the idea of, like, you know, having the power and having to willingly relinquish the power to like, that's also a cool idea. And, You know, it's an interesting kind of thing, and at its core, the entire back half of this is, like, the first half was about dealing with grief and dealing with, you know, the death of someone, and the death of, specifically, the death of someone who was keeping a secret for a long time. It's like, you know, if they did, like, you know, death of Spider-Man, and it's like Spider-Man is now dead, there's going to be mixed feelings from everyone around him who didn't know the secret. Like, where it's like, okay, now I'm, you know, what's it called? Now, so not only is this person now dead, but this other person, who I thought was his own independent person, is also dead. Oh, and they're the same person. And that's a lot to process as a person. I think that the first half, or the first part, did a good job with that. Now, part 2 deals with bonds between parents and children, and you know, not only the broken bonds that occur as a result of, you know, absentee parents and, you know, like, unwillingness to accept things and things like that, but it also does a good job of doing, like, what's it called, like, what's the word I'm looking for here, parents who, and not knowing what your legacy is, not legacy, but, like, destiny, I guess, where it's like, I don't know if this is from the source material, but Tila is Sorceress's daughter, and that's not something that's really, you know, up until this point in this show wasn't addressed, because if she was Man in Orange's daughter, but that's a part of her legacy, and it's kind of or her makeup, and that's an important thing for them to dive into and explore. I'm sorry for the noise. I'm driving to work, and it's you know, a highway. What else is there with this? I don't really know what else to say. It's a great show. I think that, you know, and I think the animation's all beautiful. I think I mentioned that already. I think there is a more than solid chance that the show gets an Emmy nomination, and I think there's an avenue in which it wins an Emmy, and that's, you know, that should be a weird sentence. Emmy Award winner Kevin Smith is going to be a weird sentence to do. But yeah, I think there's a more than solid chance that happens. And I think they would be silly to not submit it for award consideration. But the show is just so well done, and you know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's the perfect example of, like, we took this thing and made it mature, and we did what it was that you wanted, but at the same time, we also, you know, we took it in new directions that you never would have expected. Like, again, I say, like, you know, has the power, as they refer to it, I don't know if there's a more technical name for it, but they refer to it as the power, when He-Man channels, you know, by the power of Grayskull, I have the power. You know, when he channels that into himself, like, have they explored what happens if other characters, like evil-lynn or Skeletor or anyone else, channels that power into them? What happens? Like, besides, I guess, what's his name? They say his name once, the cat. And it's like, the fact that it all comes down to this giant war, and it's like, here's the thing, too. It's like, at the core of this show, at the end, is He-Man, you know, leading people into battle, and it's like, it's some of the, like, it's corny, and but it's exactly what you would expect from a show like this, and it's the kind of thing where it's like, you know, people were bitching about, when, like, oh, Tila's got too big of a role, people were complaining about that, and then, it's like, one of the coolest moments in this show, besides, like, Tila and evil-lynn's fight at the end is fucking fantastic, and visually, it's just stunning. Like, showing the infinite of creation and destruction with magic, and the way they do all the magic is just so beautiful on this show. But she, like, one of the coolest moments with him is they're going into battle, and he says he will get somewhere safe, and they say, well, there is nowhere safe, and he says, yes, there is, behind me, and he just leads all these people in the battle, and it's like, it's such a dumb kind of over-the-top moment. It's silly, it's, you know, like, but, you know, it's like, they gave everyone something to do. Everyone got something to do in this show, and I think what it does very well. I think that, as a whole, Master Universe Revelation is definitely a top 10 thing this year. I don't know how it falls. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do my top 10 this year, but it's definitely, in terms of, like, if we're including streaming series and we're not just doing movies, it's definitely in the top 10. And it's the only reason it wouldn't be in the top 10 is because we're just talking movies and not series. But yeah, if you have not yet watched Master Universe Revelation, it's definitely worth checking out. It's like, when we talk about wanting maturity in our, in our media, what we're referring to more than anything else, what they give us when we say we want something mature, by and large, is just, okay, so the characters are going to say fuck a lot. Alright, that's going to bump us up a rating. We're going to have a lot of blood and gore. There's going to be a lot of viscera in this. Like, okay. And, well, I don't know. At least one character is going to take their shirt off. One female character is going to take their shirt off. It's like, alright, good. Got it. Now it's mature. This is what the people want. This is what we're going to give them. And it's like, well, no. This is a mature show where it's like, you know, if we look at, like, what this is at its core, it's like, you know, everything's a very black and white morality. It's very Star Wars in that regard, where it's like, you know, there is no gray area. There is pure good with, you know, Prince Adam and the, you know, and He-Man, and then all of his allies, and then there is pure evil with Skeletor and his allies. Like, there's a character named Evil-Lynn. Like, come on. Like, it's a very black and white kind of morality. I don't think that it's a necessarily deep show, but when we get into it, it's like we're showing the human sides of these characters and treating them like real people. And at the end of the day, if you're someone who wants, if you're a person out there who wants this to be treated with respect and shown in a mature way, wouldn't you want people to, wouldn't you want them to handle more mature storylines without just, you know, blindly cursing? And, like, this is, when I say I want a mature Batman, or something that, you know, just treats it with respect, it's like, I don't need someone to be cursing the entire time, or, you know, killing people, or anything like that. I just need the show to work. If the show works, and this one does, and that's what it needs to do. So, yeah, we'll wrap up there for today. With Master Universe Revelation. Tonight, I will be seeing House of Gucci with the Lady Gaga, and I will be seeing Hawkeye. The first 2 episodes come out today. Also, The Flash Armageddon Part 2 came out last night, so I will be watching it on CW Seed, or the CW app, or whatever the hell it's called. And I will do a review tomorrow. Let me see, is there anything else? No, I think that's it. So we'll wrap up there for today. Oh, and on Saturday, quick programming note, I did mention this on the 30-minute reviews that I did, in which I discussed, you know, what happened. Licorice Pizza appears to be only doing a limited release this weekend, and the release calendar that I have did not reflect that this is a limited release weekend, and that it will not be doing a full release until next month. As such, I'm not driving all the way to Brooklyn to see Licorice Pizza. That's cost prohibitive and, quite honestly, a waste of time, because the movie itself is 2 hours. Driving in, parking, getting over there, and driving back, it becomes a 6-hour to 8-hour ordeal. It's not worth the time. The return on investment is not good enough to warrant doing that. So when Licorice Pizza does come out in December in a wide release, if it does go to a wide release, which I believe it will, then I will see that movie. But I have to, reshuffle my release schedule as a result. There still will be a movie on Saturday, I believe. I think it will be probably Encanto, because at my theater they are doing a preview screening of Sing 2, which appears to be full where Encanto isn't, which is disconcerting in a weird way. Like, the Sing 2 screenings are all full up, but Encanto isn't. And Encanto's getting good reviews. I'm also in fucking the whitest place on earth. So, deeply red, so maybe a Disney movie with a Spanish star on the lead is not gonna do well out here, but, I don't really have an interest in seeing Encanto or doing Encanto for this, because it's like, come on, people are gonna see this movie anyway. I think that reviewing kids' movies is a waste of time, because I can say from when I was a kid, if my parents were taking me to the movies, we were going to, go somewhere where it's cool and quiet for 2 hours, and, or an hour and a half, and we weren't going to, the quality of the movie didn't really matter. It's like we are going to see the movie, and that is what we're doing. I mean, look, the fucking Minions can make $1 billion, and there's nothing we can do about it. Kids' movies always do well, regardless, as long as they're animated, and I feel like sitting here and doing a review of Encanto is a waste of time, but, I'm waiting to hear back what my marching orders are for this weekend, so it's not that we have an editor on this podcast. I am, be all and end all, but if my editor wants me to do something different or do that, then I will do that. So we will be back with Hawkeye and House of Gucci and The Flash Armageddon Part 2 within the next few days. So until then, have a great rest of your day.